All right. Hello, everyone. It's Tim Davis coming to you guys with the market review. Had some time today, so I thought I'd go ahead and try to knock one out for you guys for this weekend. Today is Friday, January 12th, 2024. It's almost 7 p.m. East Coast Standard Time. I want to start off by taking a look at the SPXA 200, which is the tool that tracks the percentage of S&P 500 companies trading above that 200-day moving average. It simply acts as a breadth indicator, shows you the overall breadth of the market. And gives you a general idea of the overall sentiment, overall market sentiment. So the highest this tool can go is 100%. Let me show you guys where we're at now. So we have been hovering, and I want to zoom in here because I want to show you guys something. So with this particular tool, we've been hovering right around the level of resistance for well over a week now, maybe even about a month. And I think that's going to give way eventually. So we haven't really made any further ground up or further ground down right now. But as you can see, we have just been hovering around this level of resistance. Been unable to break above 80%. So we just made it back up to around about that 80%. 0.79 was like a highest we got. And we've been hovering there. I think eventually this is going to give way and we'll probably start to trickle back down. This is a hard ceiling, as you can see. It's been hard pressed to get above that level of resistance. So we could be at a standstill. Market could start to see some sideways action or eventually possibly pull back. And once this tool starts to pull back, we'll start to see the effects in the overall market. And let me expand this a bit to show you where we've touched those areas before and what happened in the past. So bear with me here 1 second. Okay. So if I was to expand this just a tad bit and show you guys that in the past when we hit this level, right around that 80%, we've been hard pressed to get above that set 0.7 hour at 0.80% level for quite some time. And every time we've gotten up there over the past year or so, we have not been able to breach it. And now we there again. So and every time we've got up to around close to that 80% level, the overall sentiment start to change and we start to pull back. So are we in store for that now? We have to wait and see it, but that is a possibility. That is a possibility that we can see a pullback here in this overall market sentiment. And if we see it here, then we're going to see it in the overall market. So that's something to pay close attention to, that we are hovering around a level of resistance and been unable to break above that level. Now I want to draw your attention to a weekly chart so we can see it more well defined. More up close and personal. So here's a weekly chart, and this has action way back, dating back to 2021. And again, you'll see how each time we make it up to around about the 80% level since the beginning of 2023, we found a way to pull back. So do the same thing again. So did we pull back here? We have to wait and see. But if you look at the RSI, we're definitely in overbought territory, and we're starting to pull back from that level. We hit overbought territory back here when we peaked out here, close to the 80, and we also did it again here. So, could we be in store for pullback? That's a possibility, folks. So like, it is very, very hard to break above this 80 percentile level. And once we clear that headway, it should be off to the races, but I don't think it's going to happen before we get some kind of a pullback from that level. So with that said, let's dive right into the major indexes. And I want to keep up this weekly chart because we're going to look at a weekly and a daily of all the major indexes. Let's go, before we do that, let's look at the VIX first. So let's look at the VIX. Now, looking at the VIX, VIX has been in pullback mode for quite some time, but if you look at the VIX, just like our SPX 200R tool is hovering around a level of resistance, the VIX is hovering around a level of support. And we've been doing so for quite some time now. We've been hovering around this level of support for quite some time. Looking at the weekly chart. And if I was to switch back to a daily chart, let me get rid of this drawing. So looking at this daily chart of the VIX, you'll see that it definitely looks like we are sitting right around a level of support, which some interesting things start to show up in some of the oscillating tools that we use or the indicators that we use. So hovering around a level of support between that 1270 to 13 to 14 bucks. Just been sitting there, and as you can look back in the past, this area has been a strong level of resistance. I'm sorry, a strong level of support. Look at the full stochastic oscillators. Does it look like it's about to cross over with a buy signal? That is a huge possibility. Look at wins percentage. It's starting to turn up. Look at the CCI. Look at the green line starting to turn up. Are we about to see a turn up in the VIX? If that is the case, then you know what's going to happen to the overall markets. So we could be in store for a bounce off of this level. So I'd be paying very close attention to see if the VIX gets a bounce from this level. And if we do get that bounce, then more than likely we're going to see an overall pullback in overall markets. Now let's just back to that weekly chart. So again, you see we're sitting right on that level of support. So the VIX could be in store for a possible rally here soon. So let's go straight to the S&P 500. All right, S&P 500. Just like the SPX 200R, S&P 500 is at a level of resistance. It is at a level of resistance and is stalling to get above it. Hit the level of resistance. So what happens here? Do we break above it now or do we pull back? If you look at and this is a weekly chart, folks. Look at the RSI. It's like we have been in overbought territory for quite a bit, came out of it a little bit, tried to go back up it against. But this is like a trend that's trending downward on the oscillators and the RSI. So next 2 weeks are going to be interesting to see if we continue to hover around resistance or do we start to pull back. Okay, so again, S&P 500 is right at a level of resistance, that $4,800 level. Around 4,800 is definitely a level of resistance that the S&P is struggling getting above. If we start to pull back, I will look for a pullback at least to the 20-per moving average first, which is this. I'm sorry, this is my 10-per moving average actually. And then if we don't hit that level, if we don't hold that level of support, then we can start to see it move back down, right around this level. So just below 4,600. That is a huge possibility, folks. That's a huge possibility. So gotta wait and see how this pans out. That's a look at the S&P 500 on a weekly. Let's just change this right here where we're at. to look at the daily. All right, see that daily chart? Look at that, hovering right. Tap that level of resistance twice, a couple times already, and been unable to break it. So I could definitely, you know, see some type of pullback here. All right, that's the SPX. That's S&P. Let's look at the Dow Jones real quick. Here's look at the Dow Jones daily chart, and as you can see, right at the level of resistance. Look at the weekly chart, right at the level of resistance. All right, so again, we are at a level of resistance in the major averages, moving average. I mean major indexes, which could be in a process of signaling a sideways action or some type of pullback. Let's go take a look at the Dow Jones. I'm sorry, the NASDAQ. Again, same scenario here. Here's a weekly chart of the NASDAQ, and we are in between a tight range. Hit a level of resistance, and it looks like we are struggling to get above that level. So again, we could be in store for some kind of a pullback from where we are now. So this 15,000 level, 15,000 level on the NASDAQ has been a problem to break above. So we could see a pullback. And if we break this level of support here, this is around 14,550, we could see a huge move downward from there. So that's something to pay close attention to. And here's a daily chart again, right at a level of resistance. All right, that is the NASDAQ. Let's take a look at the, so we did the NASDAQ, we did the S&P, did we not? Yeah, we did the S&P, we did the NASDAQ, and I believe we did the Dow Jones. Yep, right at a level of resistance. Now let's take a look at a Russell. And here's the Russell. It breached above its level of resistance and pulled right back below it. So again, hovering just below a level of resistance. Do we continue to pull back, go lower? Time will tell. But it would not surprise me to see, and you look at the Russell, and this has been a challenging area for quite a bit too as well. Look how much of a challenge this has been for the Russell. It's way back since you know, the middle of 2022. Every time we have hit this level, we have suffered some kind of a pullback. So this Russell's been range bound for well over a year. It looks like we possibly are ready to continue that range bound until we break above this level. All right, so let's look at our major indexes and look at the VIX and look at the SPX 200R. Hopefully this is some information or some news you guys can use. With that said, I want to take a look at a couple more things to give you guys some trading ideas, possibly. Let's take a look at gold, folks. Because gold has been interesting. If you've been following gold, it has not broken back below its 2,000 since we broken above 2,000 in a while. But it too has been hovering around a level of resistance. Here's a weekly chart. Gotten up here to close to 2,100. Been unable to break above it. Starting to show some slight pullback here. But this is a tight range that gold has been in for quite a bit. So do we hover here or do we run back up towards that 2,100? that's something to be close attention to, because I think there's a huge possibility that we can start to see gold find a way to break out above this level. Just not sure when or when that could be. Look at the daily chart. Daily chart of gold show price action hitting close to that 2100 and pulling right back to the 50-period moving average, and then it's like it's starting to bounce here. So I think we can start to see a move up in gold in the near term, almost probably back up towards that 2100. So we see the bounce off the 50-day moving average here. And if you look at the full stochastics, it's starting to show oscillators starting to turn up, showing a possible buy signal. Oscillators and Williams percentage turning up, showing a buy signal, and a CCI crossing over, turning up, showing a buy signal. So we could see a little move up here and go maybe back up to 2100. Then we got to wait and see what happens if we can get back up to that level. And if I was to take a look at silver, we'll see the same type of reaction. Here's silver, drop below that 50-period moving average, but look at the oscillators in the full stochastics, Williams percentage, and CCI all starting to turn upward, signaling a possible higher move and a possible buy signal. So now could be a good time to add some silver or gold to your portfolio. One of the ETFs that tracks the movement in silver is the SLV. And here's the SLV now. If you look at the CCI, it's showing it oscillates starting to turn up, showing a possible buy signal, and the CCI and the Williams percentage and the full stochastics. GDX is another way to play in the gold field with the gold with the miners. So GDX is a gold miner, and again, look at the full stochastics, Williams percentage, CCI, all starting to turn up in the oscillators, signaling a possible buy signal. And the GLD is another way. GLD ETF is another way to put play a position in gold. So there's something to think about, folks. Gold and silver metals could be on the verge of a major breakout. That could take the remainder of this year, but I think if once we get above 2100 and close above that level, folks, and the gold itself, we get above this 2100 level and close above it, we can start to see some major moves in gold. So keep that in mind. Now let's take a look at crude oil real quick. So crude oil, here's a daily chart of crude oil. It's been hovering just above a level of support, and it's been doing this too for quite a bit. Get back around here towards this $70 level, and it's just back and forth between 70 to 74, 70 to 75, 70 to 74. Maybe even dropped a little bit below that to 67, and but bounced right back up. And looks like we've hit this 50-period moving average, and look what happened. Start to push price action, start to pull back. So look at the oscillators, and the CCI is starting to show a buy signal, or starting to turn up, signaling a possible buy signal. So could we be in store for a move in crude oil back up towards 80, towards this 200 per moving average? That is a possibility, folks. That's a possibility. So pay close attention to crude, as it looks like it is trying to find a base for a possible bounce. Here's a weekly chart in crude. Again, you see price action on the weekly chart hovering just above its 200-day moving average, and it's been using the 200-day moving average, as you can see, which is this red line, as a level of support, and it's been holding that level strong. So could we be about to get a bounce from this level? That is a huge possibility. A couple stocks in crude, that follows crude that piqued my curiosity interest. MRO, Marathon Oil, is one of them. It's been hovering and showing some recent unusual option activity. Been hovering right around its 50-period moving average. This is a weekly chart in oversold conditions. So could it be about to get a bounce from this level? That is a possibility. Here's a daily chart. Look at the daily chart. You'll see the oscillators and the CCI was oversold. Looks like it's coming out of the oversold area and starting to turn up. Williams percentage starting to turn up as well, and full stochastic. So yeah, full stochastic. So could we be is it possible that we are turning up after being oversold for quite a bit for a good move higher? That is a huge possibility. That is MRO. And one other one that shows some promise here recently, CHK, which also tracks nat gas. It has been on a tear, and it's starting, and it just broke above its 200-day moving average, or just touched it on the daily chart, folks. So this is making a huge move. This is another one that you may want to start to consider. Here's a weekly chart with the oscillators and the Williams percentage, full stochastic, and CCI all turning up, with price action breaching above its 50-period moving average on the weekly as well. So nat gas also is starting to show an area where you can start to see some movement to the upside. Take a look at one more oil stock, and that's going to be VLO, Valero Energy. Again, this one too, on this weekly chart, is hovering just above its 50-day moving average, and showing the oscillators in the full stochastics and the Williams percentage starting to turn upward. Look at a quick daily chart. You see this oscillators in all three, CCI, Williams percentage, and the full stochastics all starting to turn up with a gap up off of the 50-period moving average and the 200-period moving average. Price action setting higher. So there's just some food for thought, some things to take a look at, folks, and also make you aware of what the overall indexes are showing us, that we could be in store for some type of pullback in the near future. All right, folks, have a great rest of your Friday, and have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys on the next video.